Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started. Roman Reigns is back, bigger and better than ever. He's not only returned to dominate the ring but also the WWE shop. The head of the table has done it again. Reigns appeared on the Raw after Saturday night's main event, coming to the aid of Jey Uso and CM Punk while handing out a receipt to Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Shortly after his return, the company gave him a new OTC1 nickname and released its merchandise, including a new Undisputed Tribal Chief Championship belt as part of the collection. The original Tribal Chief was right when he called himself a cash cow. His merchandise is currently the top-selling apparel on WWE Shop. His replica belt is also the best-selling item at $599.99, just 72 hours after the company launched it. This isn't the first time he's accomplished something like this. He has been one of the top merchandise sellers for the Stamford-based promotion over the past decade. Who will Roman Reigns face at WWE SummerSlam 2025? Roman Reigns was all set to resume his long-standing rivalry with Seth Rollins before the Visionary's knee injury. The creative may have to hold off on this rumored match until the former Shield member recovers from his injury. The OG Bloodline leader is still scheduled for SummerSlam, and in fact, has 2 more Raw appearances lined up before the biggest party of the summer. After reuniting with Jey Uso on Monday Night Raw this past week, a tag team match featuring the OG Bloodline members against Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed might happen at MetLife Stadium. Fans have also been clamoring to see Breaker and Reigns face each other in a spear versus spear battle. Paul Heyman called Braun Breaker the next big dog of WWE, a nickname that belonged to Roman Reigns before he adopted the Tribal Chief gimmick. Will Triple H strike while the iron is hot? Only time will tell. Roman Reigns is no stranger to seismic moments, but even by his lofty standards, this week has stunned the entire WWE universe. Just 72 hours after WWE unveiled a brand new, custom-made championship belt to cement Reigns' legacy as the undeniable face of the company, the Tribal Chief has flipped the entire narrative on its head, and true to form, he did it on his own terms. It was this past Friday night on SmackDown when WWE executives, flanked by Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa, presented Roman Reigns with the glistening new Undisputed Universal Championship belt. Crafted to merge the legacy of the Universal and WWE Championships into a single, symbolic prize, the belt shimmered under the arena lights, a physical manifestation of Roman's iron grip over WWE's main event scene for over 4 years. The design was regal, black leather embossed with tribal patterns, gold plates that paid tribute to his Anoa'i heritage, and a centerpiece logo larger than ever before. The presentation was meant to be a coronation. The commentary team gushed. Heyman, clutching a microphone, declared it was the final seal of acknowledgement. Roman Reigns was not just the head of the table, he was the table, the meal, the entire feast. Solo stood stoic at his side, the silent enforcer ready to crush any dissent. The audience, divided between awe and disdain, showered Reigns with a chorus of boos and cheers that only made his smirk widen. But anyone who thought the new belt would satisfy Roman's appetite for dominance didn't know the man behind the facade. Roman Reigns has built his entire reign, pun intended, on keeping everyone, from WWE management to his own family, guessing. And as Monday night rolled around, Reigns showed once again that control is his true prize, not leather and gold. In an unadvertised appearance on Raw, the Tribal Chief walked out to a stunned crowd who weren't expecting him on the red brand. The new championship glistened over his shoulder like a crown jewel. He didn't say a word at first, just circled the ring while the crowd roared. The commentary team scrambled to explain why Reigns was even there. Wasn't he a SmackDown exclusive? Where was Nick Aldis to stop him? Then, in a move that will be replayed on highlight reels for years, Reigns did the unthinkable. He tossed the brand new championship belt into the middle of the ring and demanded a microphone. Heyman, frantic at ringside, tried to intervene. Solo Sikoa stayed by the steps, arms crossed. Reigns stared at the belt lying at his feet as if it were an old toy he'd outgrown. When he finally spoke, the arena fell silent. "I don't need this," he said, voice dripping with disdain as he gestured to the title lying on the mat. "They can make me as many belts as they want. They can melt down gold, they can carve my legacy into leather, they can kiss my feet and call it a gift. But I didn't build this for them to brand it their way." He paused, glaring directly at the camera, at the entire WWE hierarchy sitting somewhere in the back, jaws dropping. "I am the championship. I am the acknowledgement. I don't carry this, this carries me. So you want to make something for me? Then listen. From now on, this is the Bloodlines era. Not WWE's version of it. Not a corporate fantasy. My family, my legacy, we don't need permission." With that, Roman stepped back, kicked the title belt with his boot, and gestured for Solo. The enforcer stepped into the ring, picked up the discarded title, and held it out to Reigns, but Roman just shook his head. Instead, he looked at Heyman. "Make the call," Reigns ordered, his voice low but carrying through the entire arena. Heyman, half panicked, half enraptured, scrambled to his phone, barking orders to some unseen executive. No one knew what the call meant, but within minutes, rumors began to swirl backstage. Reports whispered that Roman Reigns was demanding full control over how his title was represented going forward. Not just a new belt, but a new narrative, a new lineage, a new era that wasn't dictated by WWE marketing meetings in Stamford but by Reigns and his family alone. By the time Raw went off the air, footage had leaked of Reigns leaving the arena without the new championship. He tossed it into Heyman's arms like an afterthought, telling him, "You hold it. I don't need it." Solo Sikoa, ever loyal, followed him out wordlessly, leaving the audience with one clear image: Roman Reigns doesn't need a belt to be champion. He is the belt. He is the prize. He is the final boss. In the days since, speculation has run rampant. Will WWE cave to his demands? Will they create yet another belt, this time completely designed by Reigns himself? Some insiders claim Roman wants to introduce a bloodline title, a championship that can only be defended within his family's lineage, turning the WWE main event scene into a dynastic game of chess. Others say it's just a power move, a reminder to Triple H and the board that no matter how many new titles they craft, Roman Reigns remains untouchable until he says otherwise. Fans online are divided, as always. Some hail Reigns as the greatest manipulator in wrestling history, a man so deep in his character that reality bends around him. Others accuse him of holding the company hostage, of overshadowing every other storyline with his self-serving saga. But one thing is undeniable: no one can stop talking about him. And that's exactly how Roman Reigns likes it. As of tonight, the official WWE shop still lists the new Undisputed Championship replica for sale, but fans who ordered it might wonder if it's already obsolete. Meanwhile, Reigns has gone radio silent. No tweets. No Instagram stories. No press statements. Just that image of him striding out of the arena, beltless but utterly untouchable. And somewhere backstage, one can only imagine Paul Heyman is pacing, phone glued to his ear, trying to figure out how to spin this latest power play into an even bigger headline. 72 hours. That's all it took for Roman Reigns to remind the world why he is the most compelling, controversial, and commanding force in professional wrestling today. In an industry built on scripted chaos, he has turned unpredictability into an art form, and whether you love him or loathe him, you can't look away. Roman Reigns has done it again. And the scariest part? He's just getting started. Disheartening Roman Reigns update following WWE Raw return. Roman Reigns returned to WWE on Raw this past Monday, and it seems that he could be heading towards a match at SummerSlam. Interestingly, this will only be the third bout that Reigns has wrestled in 2025 and just his second singles match of the year. Reigns returned at SummerSlam back in 2024, and in the year that has followed, he has only wrestled one singles match in WWE, which came in January when he took on Solo Sikoa in a tribal combat as part of the Netflix premiere. Reigns has wrestled just 6 matches since his return last summer, and outside of the Netflix premiere, the last time he wrestled on a weekly show was in December 2022. Roman Reigns is seen as a major attraction for WWE. Roman Reigns has been a part-time star for several years now, so his sporadic appearances have always been up for debate. The former undisputed WWE Universal Champion has his own health issues as well as 6 children to look after, so his new schedule appears to work much better for him. That being said, his current run may not last long, as his return to WWE could be to perform at SummerSlam, only to take another hiatus until Crown Jewel or Survivor Series, since Reigns doesn't usually work premium live events that are considered to be B-level. The OTC is on the poster for Survivor Series, which means he could be expected to be there this year. However, if this pattern continues, then it's likely he will only wrestle 2 more matches in 2025 at WWE's biggest events. WWE appears to be setting up a tag team match at SummerSlam that will see Roman Reigns and Jey Uso take on Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, which means it could be 2026 before Reigns wrestles another singles match in the promotion. For months, the WWE Universe waited with bated breath for Roman Reigns to re-emerge from the shadows he so deliberately slipped into after WrestleMania. Rumors swirled, some said he was injured beyond repair, others claimed he was taking a much-needed hiatus to be with his family. And then, just when the speculation had reached fever pitch, Roman Reigns made his thunderous return on Monday Night Raw. The tribal drums echoed, the pyrotechnics scorched the arena ceiling, and the crowd erupted like a volcano finally given permission to explode. For a brief, electric moment, it felt as though all was right in the world of WWE. But that moment proved painfully fleeting. Roman stepped through the curtain draped in his signature head-of-the-table aura, the undisputed championship shimmering under the spotlights. He looked as imposing as ever, broad shoulders squared, eyes scanning the audience with that cold, familiar dominance. But to those who've watched him for years, there was something different in the way he moved. A slight hitch when he turned his torso. An ever so subtle grimace when he lifted the mic to his mouth. It was almost imperceptible, almost. At first, his promo was vintage Roman. He mocked the pretenders who tried to hold the bloodline together during his absence. He called out Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, even Solo Sikoa. No one was safe from his verbal spear. The arena trembled with every word. The chants of Tribal Chief drowned out the scattered boos from die-hard Rollins fans. But when Roman paused mid-sentence, hand resting on his side, the crowd fell awkwardly silent. He cleared his throat, smirked, and continued, but for a split second, the mask had slipped. Backstage, the whispers started almost immediately. Cameras caught Paul Heyman fussing around Roman like an anxious parent, speaking in hushed tones. An uncharacteristic frown creased Heyman's face. Medical staff lingered outside the locker room longer than they usually would for the company's biggest star. By the time Raw went off the air, social media was ablaze with speculation. Was Roman Reigns really back at 100%? Sadly, the truth trickled out faster than WWE officials could contain it. Reports emerged early Tuesday morning that Roman's return had been pushed through against medical advice. According to backstage sources, Reigns is still nursing a rib injury that never properly healed during his hiatus. The injury, which stemmed from that brutal spot with Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, has reportedly plagued him for months. Initially believed to be minor, it developed complications when Roman insisted on training at his usual, punishing level. Those close to him say he's been in near-constant pain, relying on a cocktail of therapy, painkillers, and sheer stubbornness to power through. Fans are understandably disheartened. This wasn't the return they envisioned for their tribal chief, the unstoppable juggernaut who overcame leukemia, who smashed Brock Lesnar, who reshaped WWE in his image. To see him physically diminished, even slightly, cuts deeper than any storyline betrayal. For so long, Roman's invincibility wasn't just part of his character, it was the backbone of an era. To make matters worse, insiders now claim that his scheduled feud with Cody Rhodes, long teased as the final chapter of their unfinished saga, may be postponed yet again. Cody, whose own story arc hinges on finishing the story against Roman, is said to be frustrated but sympathetic. WWE Creative, meanwhile, is scrambling. They'd banked heavily on this summer's shows being anchored by Reigns vs. Rhodes 2, with stadium gates and merchandise sales projected to break records. Now, contingency plans involving Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and even a surprise return for Randy Orton are being whispered in corridors. Despite the setback, Roman remains adamant that he won't step aside, at least not completely. Sources close to the bloodline say he's pushing to appear on TV in a non-wrestling capacity. He wants to cut promos, manipulate the chessboard from the sidelines, and keep the bloodline saga alive. Paul Heyman, ever the wise man, is said to be quietly lobbying for Roman to rest entirely, fearing that even minimal physical involvement could aggravate the injury further. But if there's one thing the WWE Universe knows by now, it's that you don't tell Roman Reigns what to do. You acknowledge him, or you face the consequences. Meanwhile, the mood within the locker room is a strange cocktail of concern and opportunity. Younger stars see an opening, the chance to fill the vacuum Roman's compromised condition might leave. Solo Sikoa, who many believe is being groomed as the Bloodline's next true enforcer, could be thrust into a main event role sooner than planned. Jimmy and Jey Uso, whose loyalties have wavered like reeds in a storm, might find new ways to seize power while Roman's grip loosens. For them, his fragility isn't just a storyline twist, it's a real shift in the balance of power. Fans, for their part, have flooded social media with messages of support. The hashtags #ThankYouRoman and #GetWellTribalChief trended worldwide within hours. Videos of Roman's best moments, the spear on Undertaker, the face-off with John Cena, the triumphant heel turn that changed his career, circulate with new poignancy. Nobody wants to see him forced out by anything other than his own decision. In a business where kayfabe and reality constantly blur, this feels heartbreakingly real. Yet even in this uncertainty, one thing remains clear: Roman Reigns has built something bigger than himself. The bloodline, the aura, the legacy, these aren't fleeting gimmicks. They're pillars that can withstand the storm of injury and absence. Whether Roman returns to the ring next week, next month, or next year, his shadow looms over WWE like a mountain. And maybe, when he finally does heal, that shadow will be darker, more dangerous, more unstoppable than ever. Until then, the WWE Universe waits. They wait for their tribal chief to roar back to full strength. They wait to acknowledge him once more, not out of pity, but out of respect for a man who has given everything to a business that never stops taking. In the end, it's not the championships that define Roman Reigns, it's the fact that even when he's down, the entire industry still revolves around him. So for now, the music fades, the lights dim, and the chants echo into silence. And somewhere backstage, Roman Reigns sits alone, clutching his ribs, eyes fixed on the horizon, already planning how to turn this setback into the next unstoppable chapter of his reign. How many WWE appearances will Roman Reigns make before SummerSlam 2025? Roman Reigns is one of the biggest stars in WWE, who has been carrying the company on his back for the past few years. However, his appearances have become extremely limited in recent times. After a months-long absence from the programming, the OTC finally made his return on this week's episode of Raw. WWE's biggest event of the summer, SummerSlam, is less than 3 weeks away, and fans have been wondering whether he would show up on the coming shows. Only 2 episodes of Monday Night Raw are left before the annual spectacle, and Reigns is advertised to appear on both. He will make his presence felt on the July 21st edition of the Red Brand, which will emanate from Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. Moreover, the Tribal Chief will also show up on the Go-Home edition of Raw for SummerSlam, which will take place on July 28th in Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan. Roman Reigns is expected to be part of a major storyline with Seth Rollins' factions on Raw. Currently, there are rumors that he could team up with Jey Uso to face Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed in a blockbuster tag team match at the bigger party of the summer in MetLife Stadium. Will Roman Reigns go on a break after SummerSlam? Roman Reigns' WWE appearances often remain a topic of discussion for fans ever since he adopted a part-time schedule. It has become a roller coaster ride of emotions for fans wanting to see him make regular appearances. While the OTC did return this week, he is expected to go on a hiatus once again. There is a strong possibility that Reigns will take a break from WWE after SummerSlam 2025 to work on a Hollywood project. He is reported to play the character Akuma in the live-action Street Fighter movie, whose production is scheduled to begin in August 2025 in Australia. This filming schedule aligns with the month of the biggest party of the summer, which will be held in early August. This suggests that Roman Reigns may step away from the Stamford-based promotion shortly after the premium live event to fulfill his Hollywood commitments. However, WWE hasn't confirmed this officially yet, but fans might get to hear the commentary team, perhaps Michael Cole, talking about the OTC's cameo in the Street Fighter movie. Well, currently, all signs indicate that Reigns will be away from WWE programming for a while after SummerSlam 2025. When Roman Reigns stepped into the WWE ring at the start of 2025, he was already a legend, one who had redefined dominance with every thunderous spear and mic drop declaration of being the head of the table. But as the road to SummerSlam 2025 heats up, an uneasy question lingers over the WWE universe like a low-hanging storm cloud. Just how many times will the Tribal Chief actually show up before the biggest party of the summer? It's a question that has fans divided and the locker room whispering. Gone are the days when Roman was a weekly workhorse, appearing on Raw, SmackDown, and every pay-per-view without fail. Ever since he unified the titles and cemented his legacy, his appearances have become precious and rare. He's a special attraction now, an aura so carefully preserved that each entrance feels like witnessing an eclipse. Yet this is precisely what makes the debate so fierce. Some say Roman's mystique depends on his absence. Others insist that too much distance risks dulling the blade of his dominance. And if the rumors swirling backstage are even half true, Roman himself is at the heart of this delicate balance. When he returned at the start of the year, Roman promised he would remind the world why no one sits at his table without his blessing. But his calendar told a different story. January brought just 2 appearances, one on SmackDown to confront Cody Rhodes, who's itching for one more crack at the Tribal Chief's crown, and one at Royal Rumble, where Roman appeared in a luxury box, flanked by Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa, smirking as chaos unfolded below. February was quieter still. Roman skipped Elimination Chamber entirely, instead sending a pre-recorded message warning whoever emerged from the chamber that their victory would mean nothing if they dared to set foot in his kingdom. In March, a single dramatic face-off with Seth Rollins on Raw sent shockwaves through the roster, but once again, Roman vanished into the shadows. So, as the calendar ticks toward SummerSlam 2025, set for August 2nd in a packed Allegiant Stadium, fans are left with calculators and crossed fingers. If the pattern holds, the Tribal Chief might appear only a handful of times between now and then. But the pattern is deceptive, because Roman Reigns has always been a master of timing. Behind the scenes, the talk is that Roman's contract allows him to pick and choose his battles. He's earned it. But with Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, and a resurgent Randy Orton all circling like wolves, the pressure is mounting. Triple H and Nick Aldis know that the WWE Universe will not accept a ghost champion. And Roman knows it too. He can't vanish completely, not now, when the bloodline is fracturing and whispers of betrayal echo through every corridor. If you ask Paul Heyman, the wise man will smirk and remind you that Roman doesn't answer to the schedule answers to Roman. But even Heyman, in his more candid moments, has admitted that the Tribal Chief must occasionally descend from his island of relevance to remind the masses that he still owns this empire. So how many times will we see him? 3 more times? 5? 10? The answer likely lies somewhere in the middle. Roman understands the art of absence, but he also understands the necessity of presence when the stakes are this high. Expect him to make at least one dramatic appearance at Money in the Bank, maybe to prevent Cody from cashing in an opportunity too soon, or to send a message that the contract means nothing if the champion won't be cornered. Expect another appearance on a major Raw, perhaps in July, when the main event scene reaches boiling point and the crowd's chants for Roman can't be ignored any longer. Maybe he'll surprise everyone with an unannounced SmackDown return, standing in the ring while Solo Sikoa tries to explain why the Bloodline's younger members are starting to drift from the fold. Then there's the possibility of one shocking brawl at a house show, an untelevised moment that leaks through social media, reminding the world that Roman Reigns is still the biggest draw in sports entertainment. After all, nothing fuels a myth like a rare sighting in an unexpected place. Yet, Roman's most crucial appearance might not be until the final SmackDown before SummerSlam. That's when he'll stand beneath the bright lights, the championship draped over his shoulder, the echoes of Tribal Chief and Cody colliding in the air. He'll look around, hold the microphone to his lips, and say just enough, maybe 3 words, maybe 30, to remind everyone why this match, this moment, is the biggest thing going. By then, Roman will have appeared maybe 6 or 7 times total between now and SummerSlam. Each time, every word and action will be dissected by the WWE Universe, the commentators, and the next wave of challengers hoping to snatch a crown that has weighed heavy yet unyielding on Roman's head. Fans will complain, some always do. They'll say the champion should be here every week, that the title deserves a fighting monarch, not a distant king. But when Roman walks through that curtain at SummerSlam, the same fans will rise to their feet, their complaints forgotten in the face of that primal feeling he brings, the sense that the main event is big, that the Tribal Chief's rare presence makes every appearance matter. So maybe the better question isn't how many times Roman Reigns will appear. Maybe the real question is whether anyone can do enough in those fleeting moments to truly shake him. Because Roman has made an art form out of minimalism. He does not need 52 weeks a year to remind you who he is, 6 or 7 will do just fine. Until then, the locker room watches the shadows for signs of his approach. The WWE Universe scans every event poster for a glimpse of the gold and the glower. And the challengers sharpen their words and their finishers, knowing full well that when Roman Reigns does appear, he does not come to play, he comes to conquer. And so, the road to SummerSlam winds on, with the Tribal Chief's footsteps echoing somewhere just out of sight. How many times will we see him before that fateful bell rings? Enough. Just enough for him to remind us who really sits at the head of this table, no matter how often he shows up to prove it. Roman Reigns to continue unfortunate WWE trend at SummerSlam? Possibility explored on the latest episode of WWE Raw. Roman Reigns made a surprising return and attacked Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. Fans' excitement is at an all-time high as they are anticipating the OTC's match at SummerSlam 2025. For those unaware, the biggest party of the summer will take place at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, across 2 nights, on August 2nd and August 3rd. Earlier, reports indicated that the original Tribal Chief might face Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. However, Rollins was injured in real life during his match against LA Knight. This seemingly halted their storyline, but WWE is still trying to capitalize on Roman Reigns' issues with Breaker and Paul Heyman. The former undisputed WWE champion is now expected to lock horns against Braun Breaker in a singles bout. Otherwise, he could compete in a tag team match pitting him and Jey Uso against Breaker and Bronson Reed. If either of these matches is booked for the summer spectacle, Reigns will seemingly continue his unfortunate trend of not being in the main event of the show. Considering that Reigns doesn't have a title match or a high-profile contest lined up for this year's SummerSlam, he is not expected to headline the show. The head of the table competed in the main event of SummerSlam for 3 consecutive years between 2021 and 2023. After failing to main event last year's show, Reigns will likely continue the unfortunate trend this year. In 2020, the OTC made an earth-shaking return in the main event of the biggest party of the summer and attacked The Fiend Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. This kicked off his legendary run as the Tribal Chief. The following year, he closed the show against John Cena in a bout for the Universal Championship. SummerSlam 2022 saw Reigns lock horns with Brock Lesnar in the main event. The OTC continued his impressive run with his victory over Jey Uso in Tribal Combat at SummerSlam 2023. Last year, he returned at the biggest party of the summer but couldn't feature in the main event. Since Rollins is injured now, WWE might not consider booking Reigns in the main event of the summer spectacle. Given recent developments, Reigns seems set to continue his unfortunate WWE trend of not being in SummerSlam's main event this year. As of now, this is mere speculation, and nothing has been confirmed. Roman Reigns' return is already a big success for WWE. Roman Reigns' return has generated significant buzz among WWE fans. Not only this, but his comeback has also already proved beneficial for the Stamford-based promotion in terms of social media engagement. The video on WWE's YouTube channel showcasing the OTC's return has crossed 3.4 million views in just one day. Hence, the video has officially earned the title of the most viewed WWE return video this year. As of this writing, the video is trending at number 7 and has surpassed 3.6 million views. The numbers prove that despite being a part-timer, Roman Reigns remains one of the biggest draws for the company. For all the bright lights, roaring crowds, and championship glory that surround Roman Reigns, there's an odd, uncomfortable trend lurking behind the grandeur. A trend that's about to cast its shadow once again as the tribal chief steps into the spotlight at SummerSlam. Since returning in 2020 to claim his place as the head of the table, Roman Reigns has rewritten WWE history with one of the most dominant title reigns of all time. He stacked legends, smashed challengers, and left the entire WWE landscape reshaped in his image. Yet, beneath that aura of invincibility, there's been a subtle yet troubling pattern that few acknowledge out loud. Every SummerSlam since his comeback has carried an asterisk of misfortune, controversy, or chaos. And if whispers from backstage are to be believed, 2025 may be no different. Take 2021, for example. Reigns faced off against John Cena in what was billed as a dream match for the ages. The hype was electric. Roman did what Roman does best, he conquered. But the memory is clouded by Brock Lesnar's shocking return immediately after the final bell, overshadowing Reigns' hard-fought victory and leaving the WWE universe more focused on the Beast's comeback than on the champion's triumph. In 2022, the pattern grew darker. Reigns collided with Brock Lesnar once more in a last-man-standing match that saw bulldozers, collapsing rings, and an atmosphere more reminiscent of a demolition derby than a wrestling match. Sure, Reigns won, but the chaos blurred the line between spectacle and circus. The tribal chief left the arena battered, the championship barely intact, and fans asking if WWE's biggest star was being booked into corners so outrageous that the belt itself lost some prestige. Then there was SummerSlam 2023, a night that will live in infamy for Bloodline loyalists. JUSO, Reigns' own flesh and blood, finally snapped. The Bloodline civil war exploded on the grand stage, splitting the family for good. What could have been a moment of storytelling brilliance turned tragic when injuries and miscommunication forced a rushed, confusing finish. Reigns retained, again, but at what cost? Trust was shattered, both on screen and off, and the feud never fully recovered its magic. SummerSlam 2024, many hoped, would break the cycle. But instead, Reigns didn't even wrestle. A lingering injury, some said legit, some said strategic, kept him out of action. He appeared, yes, but only to cut a promo overshadowed by rising stars and a Money in the Bank cash-in that didn't involve him at all. The tribal chief watched his empire swirl with rumors of decline. For once, his presence wasn't the biggest talking point of the night. And now, as SummerSlam 2025 looms on the horizon, the WWE universe braces itself. The rumor mill spins wildly. Will Roman finally deliver a classic, controversy-free main event? Or will the unfortunate trend tighten its grip once more? Sources backstage hint at several possible scenarios. Some insiders whisper that Roman is walking into a trap he helped build himself. Solo Sikoa, once his loyal enforcer, has grown restless. He's recruited fresh faces to the new bloodline, a more ruthless, hungry version of the family faction Reigns once molded. If SummerSlam becomes the stage for a coup, Reigns might leave not only without gold but without family. Betrayal, it seems, runs deep when the crown is heavy. Others point fingers at WWE's creative safety net, overbooking. There's talk of multiple run-ins, a convoluted triple threat, or even an unannounced cash-in. One scenario even has Roman Reigns winning his match, only to have an opportunistic Money in the Bank winner pounce the second he's vulnerable. It would be yet another footnote in the sad cycle, victory overshadowed by immediate heartbreak. And then there's the question of Roman's physical condition. While the tribal chief remains one of the most protected and carefully managed stars in wrestling, time is an opponent no champion can pin. Behind the scenes, whispers about nagging injuries persist. Could SummerSlam see Reigns once again forced to work around physical limitations, only to deliver a match that leaves fans puzzled rather than awed? Despite all these ominous signs, Roman Reigns remains unfazed publicly. On SmackDown, he stands tall, mic in hand, dismissing all rumors with the cool defiance that made him an icon of this era. He's done it all, beaten them all. And yet, you can almost see the weight behind his eyes when the cameras cut away, the burden of upholding a streak that is both record-breaking and oddly cursed. His loyalists argue that these controversies prove his greatness. They say no superstar alive can generate this much attention. That even the chaos surrounding Roman Reigns becomes part of his legend. And maybe they're right. Maybe the chaos is the point. A larger-than-life figure must walk a larger-than-life tightrope. Still, fans can't help but wonder, what would it look like if Roman simply defended his title at SummerSlam in a straight, clean, 5-star classic? No run-ins, no surprise returns, no forklifts or family feuds, just the tribal chief in a wrestling masterpiece that silences every doubter. But year after year, that vision remains out of reach, swallowed by WWE's insatiable appetite for spectacle. If there's a silver lining to this, it's that the uncertainty keeps people watching. The WWE Universe is addicted to the drama. Every twist in the Bloodline saga, every unexpected betrayal or jaw-dropping moment is why they fill arenas and crash streaming servers. For better or worse, Roman Reigns is at the heart of it all, an anchor and a hurricane rolled into one. So as the road to SummerSlam 2025 tightens, fans brace themselves. Will Reigns cement his legacy with a clean win that reminds everyone why he's the longest reigning world champion of the modern era? Or will he become a victim of the very chaos that built his empire? No one knows for certain. And that's what makes it all so compelling and so tragic. If history is any guide, the tribal chief won't simply defend his crown under the bright lights of SummerSlam. He'll battle history itself, forced to carry the burden of an unfortunate trend that seems as stubborn as his own iron will. One thing's for sure, when the final bell rings, Roman Reigns will stand in that ring, belt hoisted high, win or lose, and we'll all be left asking the same question we ask every August. Did we just witness greatness or another chapter in a cursed streak that even the head of the table can't smash? Time will tell. It always does. And for Roman Reigns, the weight of that truth may be the only opponent he can never pin. Roman Reigns reportedly behind recent WWE change. WWE made a slight change to Roman Reigns' presentation before bringing him back on television earlier this week. The OG Bloodline member was given a new moniker, as he was seen sporting the OTC1 t-shirt upon his return on Raw. The brainchild of the new nickname has now been revealed. Roman Reigns picked up right where he left off, taking out Seth Rollins' stablemates after chaos erupted involving CM Punk and Jey Uso following a gauntlet match. Although the original tribal chief received a thunderous pop on his comeback, some fans online weren't too pleased with the idea of him going by the OTC1 nickname. Roman Reigns is seemingly back for good. The OG Bloodline member is currently advertised to appear on every episode of Raw leading up to the biggest party of the summer in August. Rumor has it that he was supposed to face Seth Rollins at the Marquee show. But now that his former Shield brother is out of action for the foreseeable future, that match appears to be off the table. That doesn't mean Reigns' feud with Heyman's group is over. After what went down on Raw, fans could see the OG Bloodline members, Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, reunite once again to battle Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed in a tag team match at SummerSlam. However, nothing is set in stone yet. A spear versus spear battle between Roman Reigns and Braun Breaker could blow the roof off MetLife Stadium. WWE SummerSlam is still a few weeks away, and it will be interesting to see how things unfold on Monday Night Raw. Will the Visionary be back in the fold? Only time will tell. By focusing on family, Solo acknowledges Roman's throne but stakes his own claim. But the OTC1 era echoes through backstage corridors, Roman's nod of approval. He's not just calling himself chief, he's overseeing the broader tribal network. Even CM Punk's neutral-aligned return and Heyman's storyline resynchronization seem tied to Roman's branding power. It shapes who aligns with Punk, who joins Reigns, and who becomes the chief adversary. The art of controlled narrative WWE isn't improvisational theater. It's serial drama with corporate structure. When a top star like Roman pushes a change, especially a name that bubbles into social chatter, there's purpose. OTC1 becomes both a storyline device and creative umbrella. It's a declarative claim, this is my era. I'm charting paths, choosing fights, choosing merch, choosing framing. It isn't arrogance, it's executive oversight. Roman's influence permeates more than the ring, it's in the pitches, the hashtags, the merchandise queue, and the SummerSlam poster. And that shines best when WWE pivots mid-planning cycle around injuries, behind-the-scenes shifts, and real-time audience reception. What that means for SummerSlam and beyond as August's SummerSlam event edges closer, Roman Reigns has constructed a narrative labyrinth. Will he face Breakker in a career-defining spear versus spear collision? Will OTC1 lead a tag battle? Will he target Heyman personally? Whatever unfolds, this isn't Plan B, it's Plan R for Roman. He's driven the creative bus. That OTC1 shirt isn't just apparel. It's Roman's backstage memo, I'm directing storylines. By introducing the new name and logo, he's saturating the brand narrative. WWE circuits, talent, merchandise, marketing respond accordingly. And fans, whether they love or hate the label, remain engaged. In summary, Roman Reigns' unannounced, self-propelled shift to OTC1 is far more than a nuance, it is a cultural pivot. He isn't just vying for spotlight, he's carving backstage influence, narrative direction, and brand identity. That small tweak? It ripples across storylines, alliances, merch, and planning. The tribal chief isn't content with being part of the story, he's the storymaker, the architect calling his own name. And as WWE heads into SummerSlam and beyond, one thing is clear, if you want to know who's really in charge of the bloodline, watch the shirt. Let me know if you'd like me to dive even deeper, maybe character-by-character breakdowns, script-style dialogue, or projections for future arcs. Unique stipulation to return for Roman Reigns' match at SummerSlam 2025? Ex-WWE star makes a bold pitch. Roman Reigns made his long-awaited return to WWE and saved Jey Uso and CM Punk from Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed on Monday Night Raw. Meanwhile, Aiden English pitched that a handicap match makes a return for the original tribal chief at the biggest party of the summer. Roman Reigns went on a hiatus following a vicious attack by Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker on Raw after WrestleMania 41. While the Visionary is injured, Breakker, alongside Paul Heyman and Bronson Reed, has been trying to dominate the men's division on the Red brand. Speaking on the Rebooked Wrestling podcast, Matthew Rehwoldt, FKA Aiden English, pitched the idea of the original tribal chief facing Breakker and Reed in a 2-on-1 handicap match at the biggest party of the summer in New Jersey. Handicap matches have become unique as management doesn't often book too many matches around the particular gimmick. No, I don't think so, he gets inserted into a three-way match or whatever. Honestly, at SummerSlam, re-establish Roman Reigns, unfortunately, maybe at the expense of the Vision, Seth Rollins faction. Roman versus both Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker in a handicap match. I mean, Roman's going to win, English said. From 1 hour 2 minutes and 10 seconds to 1 hour 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Seth Rollins breaks character following Roman Reigns' return on WWE Raw. Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns were reportedly set to cross paths heading into the biggest party of the summer in New Jersey. Unfortunately, the Visionary's injury from WWE Saturday night's main event in Atlanta threw a wrench in those plans. Meanwhile, the 5-time WWE World Champion made an appearance on The Rich Eisen Show as a guest host. During this, he broke character and praised the original tribal chief's in-ring work following his epic return on Monday Night Raw. Roman's attention to detail, his fluidity, but mostly the consistency at a very high level. That is hard to do. So, as someone who is my rival, I'll give him the credit he deserves. He's been consistently fantastic at a very great level for a long time, Rollins said. From 532 to 550, it'll be interesting to see if the Visionary's injury is real or part of a storyline heading into WWE SummerSlam 2025. It had been nearly a year since the WWE Universe last heard the thunderous opening notes of Head of the Table. Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the longest reigning champion of the modern era, had vanished after losing the undisputed Universal title under controversial circumstances at WrestleMania 41. Rumors had swirled like desert sand in the wind: injuries, betrayal within the bloodline, or perhaps simply the wear and tear of carrying an empire on his back for so long. Yet as SummerSlam 2025 loomed on the horizon, WWE's creative machine knew it needed a jolt of unpredictability, the kind only Roman Reigns could deliver. But this time, he wouldn't simply step into the ring for a standard rematch. No, Paul Heyman made sure of that. Heyman, whose loyalty to Reigns had once seemed unshakable, had spent the past few months in the shadows, whispering into the ears of Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, and the Bloodline's new enforcer, a menacing 6 feet 8 inches phenom named Malachi Reigns, a distant cousin from the Anoa'i family tree. Under Heyman's subtle orchestration, the Bloodline had mutated. The group that once revolved around the tribal chief had become a fortress built without him, a fortress that now refused to let him back in. When Roman finally returned on a surprise SmackDown in July, the reaction was deafening. But so was the tension. He didn't walk out in royal black and gold. He came alone, hooded, no Usos flanking him, no Heyman trailing behind clutching the title. He came to reclaim not just gold, but his birthright. Heyman met him in the ring that night. The hush that fell over the arena when they locked eyes felt biblical. Heyman's words, of course, were poison wrapped in silk. "Roman, my tribal chief," Heyman began, voice quivering just enough to hide the knife beneath his tongue, "you wish to return and sit at the head of the table once more? The table you abandoned? The table you allowed to fracture?" Roman didn't flinch. He simply leaned forward into the mic and growled, "Name it." That's when Heyman dropped the bombshell. A stipulation no one saw coming. "At SummerSlam, you can have your match," Heyman said, voice trembling with faux reverence. "But should you lose, Roman, you will be exiled from the bloodline forever. You will no longer be acknowledged, not by your cousins, your uncles, your ancestors. The Samoan dynasty will erase your name from their bloodline. You will become what you fear most, alone." The WWE Universe gasped, not because they believed Reigns could lose, but because of what this meant if he did. The man who demanded acknowledgement from the entire world would become a ghost to his own family. A king without a throne. A tribal chief without a tribe. But Roman smirked, that cold, shark-like grin that had once broken Brock Lesnar's confidence in front of 70,000 people. He leaned back into the mic and said, "Deal." The match was set, Roman Reigns versus Malachi Reigns. The rookie titan who had taken Roman's seat in the bloodline's hierarchy, younger, hungrier, and molded in Heyman's image. But this wouldn't be any match. The contract signed the next week on SmackDown revealed the full twist: bloodline exile rules. The rules: no bloodline member could interfere on Roman's behalf. If Roman used any underhanded tactics, low blows, outside weapons, ref distractions, he'd be immediately disqualified and exiled. If Roman lost by pinfall, submission, count-out, or disqualification, the exile clause would activate. If he won, he would regain his place as the tribal chief and Malachi would be exiled instead. In a company where betrayal was currency, these rules were a loaded gun pointed at Roman's chest. The bloodline had perfected cheating for years under Roman's reign. Could the tribal chief fight clean for once, especially against a monster groomed by Heyman to mirror Roman's own brutal style? The weeks leading up to SummerSlam became a study in mind games. Solo Sikoa, now the self-proclaimed right hand of Malachi, taunted Roman every chance he got. The Usos, divided after Jay's latest injuries and Jimmy's silence, avoided Roman's calls. Old friends didn't answer. New ones didn't dare. Roman was truly alone, exactly as Heyman wanted. Yet each time he stepped into the ring for warm-up matches, the fire in Roman's eyes seemed to flicker back to life. He dismantled mid-card challengers with surgical precision, no low blows, no chair shots, no interference. The WWE Universe could see it. Roman Reigns, the manipulator, was now forced to wrestle with nothing but his fists and his pride. For the first time in years, the big dog was fighting like one. When SummerSlam finally arrived in front of 70,000 roaring fans in Las Vegas, the atmosphere was electric with dread. Malachi emerged first, draped in crimson and gold, flanked by Heyman. Roman came second, alone, wearing only his signature vest and a single Samoan lei, a reminder of what he stood to lose. The bell rang, and the match was an instant clash of power. Malachi thundered around the ring, using youth and size to batter Roman into corners. But the tribal chief countered with experience and unyielding stubbornness. Every near-fall had Heyman clutching his face in disbelief, barking orders Malachi was too green to fully execute. At one pivotal moment, the referee went down, classic bloodline chaos. The crowd rose to its feet, certain Roman would seize the opportunity for a spear into a steel chair or a hidden brass knuckle shot. But Roman didn't flinch. He stared at the chair Heyman slid in, then kicked it away. He waited for the ref to stir. He fought clean, because for once, he knew his legacy needed more than shortcuts. When the final moments came, Roman found a window, a Superman punch that rattled Malachi, followed by a thunderous spear that split the challenger in half. The referee's hand slammed the mat 3 times, and just like that, the tribal chief was once again the acknowledged head of his empire. As Heyman seated at ringside, Roman held up the lei, now soaked in sweat and blood. He locked eyes with Heyman and mouthed, "You made me better." The crowd thundered in approval, not for the manipulator, but for the warrior who proved he didn't need shortcuts to stand at the head of the table. SummerSlam 2025 didn't just mark Roman's return. It marked his rebirth. And somewhere backstage, Solo Sikoa watched, knowing that one day, even the new tribal chief would have to defend his throne again. And in WWE, the table is never empty for long.